Consumer Reports just dropped a bombshell, and some of the biggest automakers in the world are not going to like this one. Their annual reliability and satisfaction survey has revealed the worst cars of 2026, and the list includes some shocking names. These are the models that scored poorly in reliability, customer satisfaction, safety, and overall performance. If you're thinking of buying any of these cars, you might want to pause, because what's inside this list could save you thousands of dollars in regret. Let's start with the 2026 Ford Escape. Once a strong player in the compact SUV segment, the Escape has been sliding downhill for years, and 2026 is no different. Consumer Reports slammed it for its outdated interior, below-average reliability, and unimpressive fuel economy. Owners complained about transmission jerks, infotainment glitches, and a driving experience that just feels lifeless compared to competitors like the Toyota RAV4 or Honda CR-V. The Escape may still be selling because of Ford's name, but the reality is, it's one of the weakest compact SUVs you can buy in 2026. Next up, the 2026 Jeep Compass, and honestly, no surprises here. The Compass has consistently ranked at the bottom of Consumer Reports lists, and this year, it continues its tradition of disappointment. Owners reported sluggish acceleration, cheap interior materials, and constant electronic issues. Despite Jeep branding it as an adventurous SUV, Consumer Reports highlighted that the Compass struggles in nearly every category: road noise, reliability, and even ride comfort. Simply put, it's more headache than value, especially when competitors like the Mazda CX-5 and Hyundai Tucson offer so much more for less. Then we have the 2026 Nissan Sentra, which is supposed to be Nissan's affordable, dependable sedan. Unfortunately, Consumer Reports tore into it for its weak engine performance, poor long-term reliability, and lackluster interior build quality. Owners complained that it feels cheap, noisy, and underpowered, making it one of the least satisfying cars to drive in its class. With strong rivals like the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla, the Sentra falls flat, and CR ranked it near the very bottom of compact sedans for 2026. But here's where things get even more shocking: the 2026 Maserati Grey Kale made the list. Yes, a luxury SUV with a six-figure price tag is being called one of the worst cars of the year. Consumer Reports ripped into the Grey Kale for sky-high maintenance costs, terrible predicted reliability, and tech that's more frustrating than functional. Owners who thought they were buying Italian luxury quickly found themselves dealing with electrical problems, creaky cabin noises, and dealer support that left them stranded. For a luxury SUV, it's failing at the basics, and CR made it clear: you're better off with a BMW X5 or Audi Q7 than throwing money at Maserati's latest flop. And finally, the one that's going to stir the most controversy, the 2026 Tesla Model Y. Despite being one of the best-selling EVs in the world, Consumer Reports slammed it with some of the harshest scores in the entire report. Build quality issues, panel gaps, squeaks, rattles, paint problems, and unreliable electronics all dragged the Model Y down. On top of that, owners reported frustrating service experiences, with long waits and inconsistent repair quality. The ride is harsh, the interior feels stripped down for the price, and when you put it against newer EVs from Hyundai, Kia, and even Toyota, the Model Y just doesn't hold up anymore. Consumer Reports essentially said Tesla has lost its edge, and the Model Y is no longer worth the hype. Now, what's really interesting about this year's list is how these cars didn't just fail in one category, they failed across the board. Take the Ford Escape, for example. Consumer Reports highlighted not only mechanical problems but also how outdated it feels compared to rivals. It's not just about glitches or one bad model year, it's about Ford refusing to update it properly while other brands keep pushing forward. Owners specifically complained about cramped rear seating, cheap plastics inside, and a lack of advanced safety features that are now standard on competitors. When you're losing on reliability, comfort, and tech, you don't just fall behind, you get left behind. The Jeep Compass tells a similar story but with even deeper issues. For years, Jeep has coasted on its rugged image, but Consumer Reports testing shows that the Compass isn't rugged, reliable, or refined. CR even noted that its off-road capabilities are mediocre at best, which is shocking for a Jeep. Add in complaints about poor fuel economy, rough ride quality, and engines that feel underpowered for even city driving, and you have a car that's trying to live off the Jeep badge while offering nothing close to the value buyers expect. It's no wonder owners report buyer's remorse at one of the highest rates in its class. Then there's the Nissan Sentra, which stands out for all the wrong reasons. Consumer Reports has consistently called out Nissan for cutting corners, and the 2026 Sentra is a prime example. The CVT transmission, a long-running weak point, still gets bashed for sluggish performance and frequent reliability issues. Owners also said the cabin materials feel like they came out of a car from 10 years ago. On top of that, safety ratings lag behind segment leaders, making the Sentra not only disappointing but also a riskier buy. In a world where compact sedans need to be affordable and durable, Nissan's offering falls short on both counts. The Maserati Grey Kale is where things almost feel embarrassing for the brand. Consumer Reports pointed out that a luxury car at this price point should excel in refinement, comfort, and technology. But instead, the Grey Kale struggles with glitches in its infotainment system, rough gear changes, and some of the worst predicted reliability scores for 2026. Owners who wanted Italian flair found themselves dealing with constant dealer visits, expensive repairs, and the sinking feeling that they overpaid for a badge rather than a true luxury SUV. CR even compared it to mainstream SUVs that cost half the price but delivered double the satisfaction, making the Grey Kale one of the most overpriced disappointments of the year. And then we circle back to the Tesla Model Y, the car that really exposes how far Tesla has fallen in just a few years. Consumer Reports specifically called out inconsistent build quality, from uneven paint to rattling panels, and issues with its suspension that make it a rough ride. Owners complained about endless software glitches, with screens freezing, features disappearing after updates, and driver assist systems acting erratically. And while Tesla still promotes its charging network as an advantage, CR pointed out that new EV rivals are catching up fast, offering not just smoother rides but also better warranties and lower repair costs. The Model Y, once the face of the EV revolution, is now a case study in what happens when a company stops focusing on quality. Owner satisfaction is where things get even more revealing, because Consumer Reports doesn't just test cars in the lab. They collect thousands of real-world surveys from people who bought these vehicles and lived with them day in and day out. And that's where the cracks become impossible to ignore. For the Ford Escape, CR's owner surveys show frustration building over time. Buyers might like it at first for its familiar styling and decent tech package, but months down the line, reports pile up about costly maintenance, underwhelming fuel economy, and a ride that feels too stiff for family use. Owners specifically mentioned that Ford's infotainment glitches happen so often it makes long trips a headache. That translates to one of the lowest satisfaction scores in its class, proving this SUV isn't just mediocre, it's frustrating to live with. The Jeep Compass scored even worse. Consumer Reports highlighted that a large number of owners said they wouldn't buy it again, which is basically the kiss of death in these surveys. People felt misled by Jeep's marketing, thinking they were getting a rugged little SUV, only to end up with something underpowered, noisy, and unreliable. Complaints about electrical problems, constant check engine lights, and even poor air conditioning performance in hot climates pushed satisfaction scores down to rock-bottom levels. When owners regret the purchase almost immediately, it shows how far off the mark Jeep is with this model. The Nissan Sentra also fared terribly in owner feedback. While people appreciated its low purchase price, many realized too late that they got what they paid for, and in this case, not much. Consumer Reports noted common complaints about the lack of comfort on long drives, seats that felt cheap, and a driving experience that left owners bored and disappointed. Many said the car feels like it belongs in a rental fleet rather than a driveway. Add in long-term reliability concerns, especially with the CVT transmission, and satisfaction scores for the Sentra sank well below average. Now, the Maserati Grey Kale is where things get ugly, because when owners are dropping luxury-level money, their expectations skyrocket. And CR survey revealed just how quickly Maserati shattered those expectations. Owners said the SUV spends too much time in the shop, dealer support is inconsistent, and the costs of repairs are outrageous. Even small issues like malfunctioning door handles and faulty climate controls became massive headaches when paired with the brand's sky-high service charges. Satisfaction scores were shockingly low for a luxury vehicle, with many owners openly admitting they wish they had gone with German rivals like Audi, BMW, or Mercedes instead. And then there's the Tesla Model Y, which had one of the sharpest drops in owner satisfaction Consumer Reports has seen in years. In earlier years, owners were willing to overlook Tesla's flaws because the EV experience was new and exciting. But by 2026, that patience has worn thin. CR's data showed that owners are increasingly fed up with quality issues, poor customer service, and software updates that sometimes make the car worse instead of better. Many said the hype didn't match reality anymore, especially when competitors like Hyundai, Kia, and Toyota now offer EVs with better build quality and longer warranties. Satisfaction scores for the Model Y tumbled, showing that brand loyalty only goes so far when the product doesn't deliver. Consumer Reports doesn't just tell you what's bad, they also point to what's better. And when you look at how these failing cars stack up against their rivals, the differences are staggering. For the Ford Escape, CR was clear. If you want a compact SUV that actually delivers, the Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V are miles ahead. Both have stronger reliability records, higher resale values, and better owner satisfaction scores. The Escape, on the other hand, lags in every measurable way. It's not just losing, it's losing badly to cars that set the standard in the segment. When it comes to the Jeep Compass, Consumer Reports practically begged buyers to look elsewhere. The Mazda CX-5 and Hyundai Tucson consistently outperform it in comfort, fuel economy, and reliability. CR noted that the Compass is one of the rare SUVs that manages to be bad on-road and unimpressive off-road. In other words, it fails at everything it promises, while its rivals are actually excelling. The Nissan Sentra was compared against the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla, two models that dominate the compact sedan space. CR showed that both rivals offer better engines, smoother rides, and dramatically higher predicted reliability. Meanwhile, the Sentra continues to stumble with its weak CVT transmission and bare-bones interior. Nissan's budget pricing only makes sense if the car delivers value, but compared to Civic or Corolla ownership, it's clear the Sentra is simply a compromise too far. Now the Maserati Gray-Kale, this one stings the most. CR compared it against the BMW X3, Audi Q5, and Mercedes GLC. Each of those German SUVs offered better build quality, more reliable tech, and far superior long-term dependability. Even luxury SUVs from Lexus, like the RX, crushed the Gray-Kale in owner satisfaction. Consumer Reports' blunt message was this: Maserati's SUV looks exotic, but when it comes to living with it, you'd be far happier with practically any of its rivals, and at a lower price point, too. And then we land back on the Tesla Model Y, the car that once stood as the benchmark for EVs. Consumer Reports held it up against rivals like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, and Toyota BZ4X, all of which delivered stronger build quality, smoother driving dynamics, and better warranties. The Model Y, once Tesla's crown jewel, now trails its competition badly. CR highlighted that Tesla can't survive on hype anymore, because the competition has simply caught up and, in many cases, surpassed it. That's a brutal reality check for a brand that once dominated the EV conversation. This year's worst cars list isn't just about a few bad models, it's a warning shot to the entire auto industry. Consumer Reports is basically telling automakers, buyers are paying attention, and they're done tolerating shortcuts. What's happening in 2026 is a collision between rising consumer expectations and automakers that thought they could coast on brand names, marketing, or flashy tech. And the fallout is clear. People are fed up, and they're speaking with their wallets. Take the Ford Escape again. Ford assumed that because this SUV has been around for decades, it could survive without serious innovation. But CR's findings prove that buyers are no longer willing to accept outdated interiors and poor reliability when Toyota and Honda are giving them so much more for the same money. The Escape's fall is a direct result of Ford banking on brand loyalty instead of delivering a product that truly competes. The Jeep Compass shows another lesson. Heritage branding isn't enough anymore. Jeep keeps selling the idea of adventure, but when the product doesn't back it up, buyers feel cheated. CR surveys reveal frustration that goes beyond mechanics. Owners felt lied to. They bought into the Jeep name expecting rugged capability, but ended up with a noisy, unreliable, underpowered crossover. That kind of betrayal eats away at long-term trust, and Jeep risks alienating an entire generation of buyers if it keeps this up. With the Nissan Sentra, we're seeing the cost of cutting corners. Nissan has tried to compete on price alone, but in today's market, affordability isn't enough if the car can't hold up long-term. CR's reliability data shows constant CVT problems, and owners say it feels like a cheap rental car. The lesson here is simple. People don't just want a low sticker price, they want value over time. And Nissan isn't delivering it. The Maserati Gray-Kale is a different kind of failure, one that highlights how luxury buyers won't tolerate disappointment. For six-figure prices, owners expect perfection, or at least close to it. CR's data shows Maserati is failing spectacularly, with owners reporting constant breakdowns, outrageous repair bills, and technology that lags behind even budget cars. This isn't just a poor showing, it's a reputation killer. Luxury buyers have endless choices, and once burned, they don't come back. And finally, the Tesla Model Y, the symbol of how fast consumer trust can evaporate. Tesla once had the EV market to itself, but CR's report shows that the combination of poor quality control, unreliable software, and declining customer service has turned excitement into resentment. Owners who once defended Tesla now admit they regret their purchase, and with rivals offering more reliable EVs, the Model Y has gone from market leader to cautionary tale. The bigger picture? Innovation means nothing if you can't deliver on the basics like reliability, comfort, and service. What Consumer Reports really exposed in this 2026 list is a massive shift in buyer behavior. For years, automakers leaned on brand loyalty, aggressive marketing, and flashy new features to sell cars. But today's consumers are smarter, more connected, and less forgiving. Reliability, long-term costs, and overall satisfaction are becoming the deciding factors, and if a car doesn't deliver on those basics, it doesn't matter if it's a Ford, a Jeep, or even a Tesla, buyers are walking away. The Ford Escape is a perfect example. 10 years ago, a family might have bought it just because we've always owned Fords. But Consumer Reports data shows younger buyers don't think like that anymore. They compare reliability charts, check resale values, and read thousands of online reviews before buying. When they see the Escape ranks near the bottom of its class, they skip the Ford dealership entirely and go straight to Toyota or Honda. That's a fundamental shift that Ford has failed to adapt to. The Jeep Compass highlights another trend. Customers aren't swayed by image alone. CR surveys revealed that buyers felt tricked into buying the Compass because of Jeep's reputation for ruggedness. But once the reality set in, sluggish performance, constant issues, and poor build quality, those same buyers swore off Jeep altogether. In the past, people tolerated flaws for the sake of owning a Jeep. In 2026, they don't. Image without substance doesn't work anymore. With the Nissan Sentra, we see how budget cars no longer get a free pass. Years ago, people expected cheaper cars to come with compromises. But now, brands like Hyundai and Kia are offering affordable models packed with features, long warranties, and strong reliability. Against that backdrop, the Sentra looks outdated and overpriced, even at its low entry point. CR survey results prove it. Buyers aren't willing to accept cheap and bad when they can get cheap and good somewhere else. The Maserati Grey Kale shows the same principle at the other end of the market. Luxury buyers have zero tolerance for flaws. They want flawless execution, bulletproof reliability, and world-class service. Consumer Reports data showed that Maserati didn't just miss the mark, it failed so badly that many owners said they'd never touch the brand again. In a market where Lexus, BMW, and Mercedes are excelling, Maserati can't afford that kind of failure. It's a brand killer. And the Tesla Model Y is the clearest proof that hype is dead without follow-through. For years, Tesla sold cars on the promise of innovation and cutting-edge tech. But CR surveys reveal that once the honeymoon phase ends, owners are left with squeaks, rattles, paint problems, unreliable software, and poor customer service. What's worse is that rivals like Hyundai and Toyota are now offering EVs that do everything better. More range, better build quality, smoother rides, and Tesla can't rely on its early advantage anymore. Consumers are saying it loud and clear. Innovation means nothing if you can't deliver dependability. This 2026 worst cars list isn't just a snapshot of bad models. It's a signal that the auto industry is undergoing a trust reshuffle. Consumer Reports has essentially mapped out which brands are building long-term confidence and which ones are burning it down. And the fallout could decide who dominates the next decade of car sales. Look at Ford with the Escape. This isn't just one SUV struggling, it's a reflection of a company that hasn't figured out how to keep up with evolving buyer expectations. CR surveys show families want fuel efficiency, strong safety ratings, and tech that actually works. The Escape is weak in every single one of those areas, and that erodes confidence in Ford's entire SUV lineup. When people feel burned by one model, they don't just skip the Escape, they question Ford altogether. The Jeep Compass makes the danger even clearer. Jeep built decades of brand loyalty on the promise of toughness and adventure. But when CR's data proves that the Compass is underpowered, noisy, and unreliable, that loyalty collapses. Owners who regret buying a Compass don't just trade it in, they often jump ship to competitors permanently. That's not just a lost sale, that's a lost customer for life. For Nissan, the Sentra's failure is part of a bigger pattern. Consumer Reports has flagged multiple Nissan models for weak reliability in recent years, and the Sentra's poor showing in 2026 reinforces that trend. When budget-conscious buyers realize a Hyundai Elantra or Kia Forte gives them more features,